This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, hour 2 Money Moves live on VSiN, the sports betting network, coming at you already. Live from downtown Las Vegas Circa Resort and Casino. Wherever you're watching or listening, we appreciate it. YouTube TV, the VSiN Watch app. We mentioned SiriusXM channel 158. He's Jonathan Von Tobel. I'm Stormy Buonantony. If you missed any of the first hour, remember you can always download Money Moves in podcast form wherever you get your podcasts. Loaded hour coming up. Plenty of college football. We'll have VSiN's own Tim Murray join the program. Best bets at the end of the hour. Also in honor of college football getting underway. Our top 5 college football traditions. So if you want to submit any of your thoughts, please do tweet at us at MeJVT at Storm Buonantony. We do have a couple MLB scores to update you with real quickly. Missed opportunity on the overs apparently in Yankees, Nats, Braves, Marlins. Yankees 11-0 right now over the Washington Nationals. We are in the 5th inning. So much for sure, obviously. And if you want to take a shot on that, it is 100-1 available for you right now on the Nationals. 11-0 Braves up on the Marlins, and then we do have a close game in Rays Guardians. Tampa up 3-2 right now. Rays, who were a -158 favorite at close, up to $2 favorites currently on the road with that 1-run lead. A couple tweets real fast. Speaking of tweeting at us, Chris Vaselli likes your Chelsea pick.
Yeah, I tweeted in us, said Chelsea were my, quote, value bet when talking about talking with the Live Bet Sunday crew. Year 2 of Enzo Maresca, the defensively sound, game changers up front. If they can get above average goaltending because Sanchez is shaky, they can certainly win it. So we were talking about this as part of Why Not Wednesday. Why not with Chelsea at plus 750 to win the Premier League? The defensive numbers have been very good for Chelsea. So we'll see if it's early on. They haven't really played anybody. They still don't have another real big matchup. They play this Saturday at 4:30 against one of the mid-tier bottom dwellers. They do not get like a real challenge, if you will, until about September 20th. They will get Manchester United, who is currently winless, as we discussed. And by the way, shout out to Vaselli, because that was one of the games I wanted to ask him about, so I'm glad he had an angle. Man U, their manager, very much talking about we need to grow up. They're winless at this point, only through 2 matches. Seems like a very big desperation spot for them. And attacking that with them as such a big favorite was one way I wanted to ask, and he had a good one with the overshots on target. Yeah. And the last bit of bloviating I will do, I just received a text message from producer Luke DeVasta that said, I remember the last time I believed in Chelsea, the first time I believed in Chelsea. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Vasily, by the way, Covers.com betting analyst, had him on the show in hour 1. If you, again, want to go back and listen to any of the picks, he had plenty of EPL, plenty of college football. Another tweet real quickly.
Blue is the color, football is the game, as they say for Chelsea.
In reaction to Why Not Wednesday, my shoot your shot question, obviously framed around Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Vegas regular says her place of work was also his place of work. Fair point, because it was at Arrowhead, the concert.
I have such a good idea for a great bit, but I don't think our bosses and or your husband would enjoy it.
Tell me about it later, and we can workshop it.
All right. It's a really good one, actually.
We do have another MLB game that's getting underway in about an hour. Padres at Mariners, 1:10 Pacific time, 4:10 Eastern start on MLB Network. Series split. Seattle took Game 1 on Monday. Padres bounced back, 7-6 win yesterday. Line moving against the Pod squad today. Opened plus 110 dogs. Now I'm seeing like plus 130-ish. So shop around, though, because those numbers fluctuate wherever you look. Yu Darvish, Brian Wu going head-to-head here. Anything stand out to you?
Yes. So let's talk about a couple of things here. First off, Brian Wu is absolutely great. Love Brian Wu. Since his rough start to his career is really his first start, where I always like to think back on a live bet Saturday or Sunday, where I think it was Femi Abebefe and I watched him as his parents watched him get absolutely shelled by the Texas Rangers. And then since then, he's been absolutely great. 2.94 ERA, 3.61 fielding independent for Wu. The guy has been for me personally at least, one of my favorite pitchers in Major League Baseball, the way that he has gotten this done. And you look at his recent starts, again, just really rock solid. He had a blow-up about 5 starts ago on the road against the Athletics. We know how that park can be, especially in the throes of summer. Since then, in 4 starts, he's given up 1 earned run in 3 of the 4. Only give up 3 over 6 against the Tampa Bay Rays. You can at least expect, I think, a level of production that is above average every time Brian Wu takes the hill. On the other side, you get Yu Darvish, who in 2 out of his last 3 starts, he has given up 1 earned run over 6 innings in each of them. Sandwiched in between there, though, is a start at the Dodgers, if you remember. Struck out 5, walked 2, and gave up 4 over the course of just 4 short innings. Which Darvish is going to show up here overlying metrics would tell you he's due for some sort of positive regression. 536 ERA, 459 fielding independent. But even then, Stormy, the regression for Darvish is from abhorrent to very bad. So is that really worth coming in and buying in on Darvish and the Padres? To me, it would not be. I like Wu. I like what he brings to the table. Obviously, Cal Raleigh is not slowing down by any stretch, and this lineup is showing a little bit more life. I agree with the market here. $1.30 seemed cheap for what you're getting from Wu, what you're getting from Darvish, and what this lineup has been doing for the Mariners for the most part, especially their most pivotal player, I would say. $1.45, I think, is a more accurate price than the overnight of $1.30.
Raleigh, that is minus 125 favorite now for MVP all of a sudden.
I was going to bring that up for Why Not Wednesday.
I did want to ask you, Mariners in general, if we're still looking for plus money prices to back him and this team, plus 150 in the division, 1.5 games back.
Yeah.
Do you think that's, it's such a close split. Do you think that they could end up overcoming their schedule and the Astros very similar in terms of strength of schedule? Yeah. Houston slightly easier, but plus 150 worth a wager, worth a look?
I think that the pinnacle of Seattle is a team that can hawk down Houston and win the division. Having said that, I do have some trepidation. Look at this recent stretch that they were on where the world was in front of them, and then what happens? They go on a 5-game losing streak, losing series to the New York Mets and the Philadelphia Phillies before finally kind of waking up against the Athletics. We'll see if they can take this series from San Diego. But I would say if you're looking to back that, maybe wait a little bit tighter down the schedule. They have a little bit of a rough stretch here. I guess Cleveland's fallen off the face of the earth. Then Tampa Bay. Once you get to this portion of the schedule where they're going to have Atlanta, St. Louis, the Angels, and then the Royals heading into a road series with Houston, maybe you try to see if you can squeeze a little bit more out of these division odds if it's going to get tighter. But either way, I would say yes. If everything hits, they're a team that I do believe has, look, 1.5 games. That's not even a good week. It's a good 3 days. And then all of a sudden you're right back in that thing and you have the lead.
Reminder, everybody, football season with it being here now officially in college and then NFL right around the corner. The NFL betting guide is updated and we are ready for week 1. Pro Football Betting Guide 2.0 out now. You get your post-preseason team updates, proven betting systems, contest strategies, and host best bets for opening weekend and beyond. Head over to VSiN.com/subscribe. You get access to this and the College Football Betting Guide for as little as $9.99 your first 30 days. Annual subscriptions also available. And I do want to shift gears to football here for the last couple minutes because something you brought up yesterday is, I believe it's Matt Humans who loves to fade players who have recently gotten married. Is that
I don't know
how this works?
I don't know if he actively fades them, but he does believe it is a downgrade.
Okay. So I had heard this from a handful of people, not just humans. But I had read an article not too long ago.
Can I guess the gender of who you heard it from? No.
Saying this was completely untrue.
Yep.
And I went through and I was doing some work on the Google machine yesterday. And when I prove a point, I want to really prove a point. And so I went year by year went through all of the major quarterbacks that are active in the league right
went
now.
Through state records,
star
of marriage
players.
Licenses.
I got too deep in the weeds on this one, but recognizable names over the last 8 years I was digging into. And so let's start last year. Okay. Jared Goff married his former Sports Illustrated model girlfriend entering last season, has a career year, career high passing touchdowns, passer rating wins. 2023, Max Crosby marries Rachel, career high 14.5 sacks at the time, led the league in TFLs. Same year, Broncos wide receiver Courtland Sutton had double-digit touchdowns for the first time in his career. The 10 touchdowns were as many as he's had the previous 4 years combined. Patrick Mahomes, 2022, and I'm going year by year here. Married Brittany, say what you want about their marriage, the following season, career high 41 tutties, NFL MVP, Super Bowl MVP, leads the league in pass yards, second Super Bowl ring. Fred Warner, that same year, marries Sydney. That season and the next, he was awesome. Over 130 tackles each year, combined for 4.5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, 5 picks. Gonna throw Bo Nix in here for good measure. He got married in 2022, transferred to Oregon that summer. We all know how that worked out. No notable names I could track in 21, so if you find one, let me know. Trey Hendrickson, however, married in 2020. That season, jumped from 6.5 sacks combined his previous 3 seasons with the Saints to 13.5 and has had double-digit sacks every year since, including leading the league with 17.5 last year. George Kittle married Claire 2019 that season. First team All-Pro. over Travis Kelce. 49ers go to the Super Bowl that year. Like with everything else, there are some that don't hit. Baker Mayfield married in 2019. Tough season, 22 touchdowns, 21 picks. But the very next year, 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, took the Browns to the playoffs for the first time in 18 years, won a playoff game. And look at that man now, how he's revitalized his career with a nice woman at home. Davante Adams married his high school sweetheart in 2018. That fall, career highs in receptions, yards, touchdowns, probably the best wide receiver in the league that year. You can go on and on. Even Russell Wilson, if you want to go to the old heads, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford, Wilson, first marriage in 2012, and I have to give the caveat, one of the best rookie seasons ever by a quarterback. Even in 2016, after he married Sierra, still top 10 in passing, led Seattle to the NFC West. Stafford upped his touchdowns by double digits the year he got married. Kirk Cousins stepped in for RG3 the year he got married, became the full-time starter. The only other big-name guys who got married and didn't play well I could find were on the 49ers, which I did not love. Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey, both married in 24. Down years. Brock Purdy, worst touchdown to interception ratio. Christian McCaffrey only plays 4 games. But the years they got engaged, Purdy, 4,280 yards, 31 touchdowns, near 70% completion, CMC, 1 offensive player of the year. So if you're looking at some of these players who are going to be married this year, or were married this summer, Josh Allen, Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, Drake May, Aaron Rodgers, Travis Hunter, any of these guys that we should buy in on the marriage bounce for?
There's a lot. You tell me. You did the research.
I'm detailed. Well, you know already that I like Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers this year. I'm on the season win total over. I think they go to the playoffs. You can get that at a plus 130.
Have we confirmed he's actually married?
He said he's married.
Have we seen him? Have you
he
seen
wears a
her?
ring. He says he's married.
I don't believe it.
Josh Allen, obviously, is coming off the MVP season in his engagement year.
I don't know.
Can they win the Super Bowl this year? Can this be the year?
That one I doubt. That one I really doubt.
What about Jordan Love?
I really do think that marrying an extremely attractive millionaire actress who was throwing it back in a recent hit movie is really going to bring
Eagles
Josh
go
Allen
back to
down.
back now that Jalen Hurts is married. Drake May, Patriots take the step up, compete with Buffalo in the division. Listen, I'm just trying to give you guys the information you need. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Get your birthday suits ready.
We're going streaking!
Because we're going streaking.
Come on, everybody! Come on!
All right, week 1 of the college football season is upon us, and there are a lot of streaks from years past or last year that I want to see, JVT, if you think they will continue or not. And obviously, not all streaks are created equal. This is a new year. Rosters are different. Head coaches are different in a handful of places. But more note, so just to get into your handicap of a respective game and see if you think the streak continues. And we're going to start with the marquee matchup of this weekend. Texas, Ohio State. The Buckeyes, JVT, have won 25 straight season openers. It is the longest active streak in FBS. Buckeyes are down, though, from 3-point favorites to 1.5 most spots. Still some 2s out there if you're trying to take Texas. But spread aside, can they win a 26 straight opener? Do you think the streak continues?
I'm going to go on a limb and say a vast majority of these season openers were against the Youngstown States of the world. No offense to the Penguins. Very good program. But I'm going to go ahead and say that it's in grave danger this year, and it gets snapped this year as well.
Last year, beat Akron 52-6 in the opener. Did have IU 2 years ago, 23-3. Notre Dame 3 years ago got that dub too, 21-10. Notre Dame's top 5 team in the country.
Yeah, look, not all of them are the non-con,
yes,
right, like steamrolls. I'm gonna vote though. I'm gonna go on a limb and say a majority of them are. So, but I think it's in danger.
Texas, meanwhile, has seen 4 straight season openers go under. Also, by the way, just as a caveat, 7-1 to the under their last 8 road games last season. Total has come down from 50.5 to 48, 47.5's out there. I said yesterday I do lean under in this game. Do you agree?
I think so. I think it makes some sense. You know, teams breaking in new quarterbacks, not really sure. Yeah, pretty good defenses, not entirely sure of what some of the big so what you're looking at, right, when you're talking about some of your opponents and some of the pieces you're using. Having said that, going back really quickly, UL Monroe, what are we talking about here? Rice and Colorado State, their last 3 openers. That would be Texas in those games, to the point of these games going under, you're not really showing that much. You're playing pretty vanilla. You're kind of just lining up and running the ball and getting out. Those games tend to go under. We can talk about that a little bit more later if we talk about Michigan and New Mexico. So I think that's why we're talking about this under trend. So I would venture a guess and say yes, but not for the reason, in terms of this under streak continuing, but not for the reason that these streaks are alive.
Okay, under Shane Beamer, the South Carolina Gamecocks have seen all 4 of their season openers also go under the total. Gamecocks taken on Virginia Tech in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium Sunday afternoon. This total has actually been a big mover to the over from 45.5 up to 52.5. But could that be too much that this streak continues? What do you think?
I don't know. 4 games is a very rock-solid sample size in which to build a trend. So I'm going to say, hell yeah, let's go over the total.
That's why, we have another segment on the show, Meaningful or Meaningless, with a handful of trends. It's
this
one
would
of
be
those
meaningless.
Things where it's more just like, maybe it doesn't matter, but it's just a way to talk about it.
This might shock some people. There's even meaningless trends of like 20 or more games. It just depends on what it is. My favorites, of course, are the team coming off of a road trip on a Tuesday, back at home as a $1.80 favorite. Right. Like in baseball, they're this. It's like, okay, let's chill out on that one. That seems like
wearing
noise.
white on a night game, like all the different. Yes, love it. But this one,
in the seventh sun.
This next one, I actually do think could present a little bit of intrigue. So, Boise State has the most returning starters of anybody in the Mountain West this year, right? 6-0 ATS as a favorite of 7 points or fewer under Spencer Danielson. They do tend to handle their business as less than touchdown favorites. We're down from 9.5 to 5.5 at DraftKings with the Broncos visiting USF tomorrow night. What do you think as this number continues to go down? I know you have plus, 6.5 with USF? Now that this keeps going down, do you think we're in cover territory for the Broncos?
I mean, I think that this is probably still more noise than anything else because it's just 6 games. I guess, could you argue that this shows you that Spencer Danielson in tight games is good enough that he can get it done? You know what I'm saying? So these are generally tight games. We're talking about point spreads underneath 7. And so a better head coach with most times a better roster, especially when you're talking about conference play, is going to be able to get it done. I think there's maybe something to that. But again, too small of a sample size. And I'd also argue, as you're talking about with this play against them with South Florida, I'm not as high on this version of Boise State. I would tend to think that this is a little bit more noise than anything else. I wouldn't buy into it, but there might be something here.
It is on the road in South Florida as well.
Yeah, that's different.
Where
most of these games at home, you know what I mean?
What I'm still trying to figure, I just don't know with USF, because a lot of people do think they could be one of those G5 teams to potentially make their way to the CFP this year as a long shot. I just don't know if I'm sold on Alex Golesh yet. And so if deciding between the two, and I like the better head coach in Boise State, and I do still, even without Ashton Genty, think Boise State should be fine.
Are you going to play?
If this number creeps down, I will.
Yeah? What's your buy point?
If we get, I would say if we get to 5, I would feel good about it.
Okay.
I'd prefer it to be less. I'm going to see as much as we can bleed out of this thing. If people keep betting USF and taking the points, I'm going to jump in at some point. There
would be at some point probably a buy-in. I think the market, just the general market, as we get closer to kickoff. What is this, Thursday?
Yes.
That you're going to see. Public bettors will generally look at this and go, This was a playoff team last year, and I'm laying just 4.5. Let's go or something. But we'll see if that's the case.
I would love to get down to that point to where that happens.
Yeah.
All 9 of Georgia's season openers under Kirby Smart have gone under the total. Our total against Marshall, 55.5 in a game whose spread has been bet up to 39.5, mind you. I don't know much about Marshall this year, with the exception of them being in a total rebuild. If you remember last year, they were the best ATS team in college football, won the Sun Belt. Then their head coach leaves before the bowl game. Everybody leaves the program. And now this is they are just figuring it out. So do you think this is an all Georgia and under?
I mean, you can't really make the argument that I made with the Texas angle. If you look at their opponents the last few years, there's Clemson multiple times. There's an Oregon ass-kicking in there as well, right? They generally have come out and suffocated their opponents and have caused this trend, I think, to happen. I guess the question is this level of Georgia is that gap there with Marshall? I would say it can be. I think this is another one of those situations where it's just a lopsided affair.
Yeah.
You're not going to see much in terms of the intricacies of the playbook. Get in, get out, get a win.
With this in mind, so it's not a full streak, but Steve Makinen in the daily article that Bill 80 sends out on VSiN every day had this note: Week 1 FBS versus FBS favorites of 37.5 points or more. 16-0 straight up, 15-1 ATS since 2013. So the Georgia game matches that, as does Penn State, laying 44.5 against Nevada. Penn State, by the way, 4-0 ATS is a favorite of 40 points or more against James Franklin. Franklin,
yeah,
like
he loves it.
He loves it. He has no problem running it up. He knows what the spread is. Ole Miss also matches that against Georgia State, laying 37.5. Any of those big spreads interest you?
I mean, they do to an extent. I would say I'd more like if you like Penn State minus 44.5. Wouldn't you be also attracted to playing Nevada's team total under, as opposed to maybe laying such a big number, something like that?
How bad is the Wolfpack going to be?
I think they're going to be bad. You and I were talking about this, I think, off the air the other day. I'm actually a Jeff Choate fan, their head coach. I think he's a good coach. We saw it at the beginning of last year. We were discussing, for people who don't remember, I think it was week 0, them going toe-to-toe with an eventual playoff team in SMU. They were covering. They were scrapping them with them. Then they went on the road in a tough spot, took on Troy, won that game outright. So, like, there's some good coaching, I think, up there in Reno. It's just not a program that has the assets to attract players to go and play. You're getting the bottom of the barrel, the transfer portal, if I could speak. Your boy's little brother, Chuba Purdy, is going to play quarterback for them as well. He was supposed to be the guy last year, but he got injured at the beginning of the year. I think there's going to be a couple of games where we're going to look in conference play and go, oh, look at Nevada. But I don't think it's going to manifest here against Penn State.
Texas A&M, a team that I am high on this year, big Marcel Reed fan, big Mike Elko fan. They are 0-5 against the spread against non-SEC opponents last year, laying 24.5 in their opener against UTSA. Does that streak continue? Can they cover the big number against the Roadrunners?
No, let's go. Run, Roadrunner, run. Nah, I don't know. I don't know. I think this one, again, seems pretty small in terms of the sample size. Now, we are talking about, you mentioned some of these openers. We're talking about your quarterback allegedly being hungover when you're taking on Notre Dame, things like that, not going particularly well. So I don't think there's really anything to it when we're talking about just 5 games. And again, when you're in these situations, I hate to be ad nauseum, but if you're in these situations where you're heavy favorites to open a season, generally you're not showing that much. You're playing at slow tempos. You're playing pretty poor or pretty plain stuff because you don't want to show anything for your next coming match. Like, you don't want to put any of that on tape.
One more interesting stat, not a streak, but that I think is a good lead to our next guest. Notre Dame, 16-4 against the spread against ranked teams under Marcus Freeman. Best ATS mark of any head coach since the FBS-FCS split in 78. The Irish laying 2.5 against Miami.
Might be.
Can they cover again? Resident Notre Dame Fighting Irish fan Tim Murray is going to join us coming up next. We'll get into college football. I am curious his opinion on that game, one of the marquee 3 top college football games coming up this weekend. I'm sure he's got plays for us tomorrow as well. So stick around. More college football talk coming up after this on Money Moves.
Watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Is he tan? The question on everybody's minds as we welcome you back here to VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Why do I ask the question? Because Tim Murray joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line, fresh from the islands after the VSiN trip out there to Hawaii. You got to see the awesome ending against Stanford, and he's still pale like me. We're in this together, Tim. How are you, pal?
I'm great. No, it was an amazing trip. We've talked about it a lot on Prime Time and on the College Football Betting Podcast. But, thanks to everyone who was a part of that trip. It turned out better than I expected. And, yes, to get a game-winning field goal at the end and to have Timmy Chang personally thank VSiN, I'll take that as a victory.
That's right. 2 questions. First off, did you go to 8 Fat 8? I had texted, I think, you and Humans about that. A good dive bar out there. The second, and I had espoused this when watching the game here at Circa that day, when they were down 10-0, what was Tim Murray like at that point when they were trailing Stanford early?
I'll start with the second question, JVT. I was in the corner of the end zone because the play prior to the Alejado fumble, the kick returner had a brain fart and thought he could fair catch a bounced kick. So instead of putting his foot out of bounds, they had the ball at the 1 yard line. So I saw that play unfold right in front of me, and needless to say, was not thrilled by the result there. And then secondly, we were going to go to your dive bar recommendation, and I'll just say we were vetoed by a handful of local folks. So we went to a different establishment on Saturday.
I like dive bars like that, so.
I can see that. In the follow-up to that game, though, we were talking off air a little bit. You mentioned how quickly you bet Arizona taking on Hawaii this coming week and the letdown spot. That number, though, has gotten up all the way to 17.5. Is this a little bit too far, or do you still think Arizona is the right side when all said and done?
Yeah, I was expecting a pretty big move. Now, full disclosure, don't know whether or not Micah Alejado is going to play. He did not practice on Tuesday. He was not in a boot, though, so that was certainly a positive development to see that on Tuesday with some footage coming out from practice. Timmy Chang has not ruled him out for the game, so I don't know if he's going to play. If he does play, he certainly won't be 100% healthy, as we saw in that victory over Stanford. Look, I think at this Hawaii spot, and you mentioned it, Stormy, it's a massive letdown. It was their first win over a Power 4 team since 2019. The buildup to that game being out there was enormous. They put so much into that game against Stanford. It was a sellout crowd. It is just a typical letdown spot to travel to Arizona. Now you're playing another P4 opponent. Obviously, Brent Brennan has ties to the Hawaii program. He is a cousin of Colt Brennan, and when San Jose State went out to the Hawaii Bowl in Brent Brennan's final game as the head coach of the Spartans, he was walking around town wearing a Brennan jersey. Obviously, Colt Brennan is looked at and remembered as a hero, certainly for the Hawaii football program. So there is certainly some motivation there. But to answer your last question, Stormy, I do think this has probably gone a little bit too far, in my opinion, sitting there at 17.5. So, that's the tricky thing about week one, as you guys have discussed and we've discussed, throughout the network here, is a lot of these numbers have been shaped quite a bit. You guys were just talking about South Florida and Boise State. That thing was 10, and now there's some 5.5s out there. So it's moved a lot. I did get a piece of 13.5. I was frantically trying to find someone to bet that for me on Sunday just because of the expectation of Alejado's ankle injury. But yeah, 17.5, probably a little bit too rich for my blood, but I think Arizona should take care of business. And JVT actually made a really good point off air. Look, there's heat on Brent Brennan right now down there at Arizona. There were reports on some message boards late in the season that the buyout money might already be there for him at Arizona. So you do wonder if there's an opportunity to maybe make this look a little bit more impressive, that Arizona could potentially do that.
Yep. As you know, Tim, I've been very adamant, even on primetime when we were together. I didn't get the Brennan hiring. Still don't get it at this point right now, so we'll see if he makes it through the year. All right, it's a big board. We've got a lot of football going on. Anything that is still available out there that you would recommend?
The one game, one of the many games that I think are interesting, I want to go to Saturday, and I have missed the best of the number here, but I think Northwestern is going to be pretty feisty down at Tulane. This is an 11 a.m. local kick down there in New Orleans. I understood the decision for John Summerall to go get Jake Retzlaff when he, left the program at BYU with everything that percolated there. I had a chance to talk to David Braun, the head coach of Northwestern, at Big Ten Media Day. And, look, everyone's going to be thinking sunshine and lollipops, obviously, at Big Ten Media Day, and, how exciting the season's going to be. But I think this Northwestern team is maybe getting a little bit underrated. And, you saw the market come in. They scooped the 7s. It's down to 6. I played it at 6, though, so I did not get the best of the number here with the Purple Cats. And, look, this is a Northwestern team. I'm not going to compare them to Michigan regarding their quarterback play, but you think about Michigan, right? And if they get any semblance of decent quarterback play from Bryce Underwood, they should take a step in the right direction. I think similarly goes here with Northwestern. They go out and they get Preston Stone, and I think this is a massive ad here for Northwestern. Another year of, I think his name is Zach Lujan, the unique kind of FCS coordinator they brought in a year ago. So I think this is a bounce-back type of season for Northwestern. Obviously, you missed the 7, but I think they're feisty, and I think they could be a live dog on Saturday afternoon down there in New Orleans.
Tim Murray, VSiN primetime host, also host of the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast, and we'll be back on Saturdays with the College Football Tailgate Show, getting you locked and loaded with everything on game day. Joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, I mentioned last segment the affinity that both of us have to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and for our audience that hasn't heard your opinion on CJ Carr, I'm curious what it is and how you think they fare as a 2.5-point favorite at Miami coming up.
Yeah, look, this is a game that you guys both know me. Our listeners and viewers know me pretty well. I'm more of a pessimistic Notre Dame fan. That's just kind of the nature. I did bet this game under before the big move. I still would lean under. Unique, interesting aspect here. There will be a game played at Hard Rock Stadium on Saturday. A HBCU game is going to be played, so the field conditions could be a little bit tricky down there at Hard Rock Stadium. Curious to see how that ultimately plays out. Look, I look at this Notre Dame team, and the strength is the defense. As great as Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price are in that backfield, the defense is absolutely loaded. And yes, they did lose Xavier Watts to the NFL. They lost Benjamin Morrison to the NFL, Jack Kaiser, some leaders up front. But guys, defensively, this team should be absolutely loaded. You think back to a year ago, middle of the season, they lost Benjamin Morrison, a NFL draft pick, second-round pick, to injury, and Leonard Moore stepped in and was better than Benjamin Morrison. The secondary should be borderline elite. And when you look at this Miami team, they lost their 6 top wide receivers from a year ago. Now, I do think that Carson Beck is being slept on a little bit. There's a lot of excitement coming out of South Beach regarding what we've seen from him, coming in from Georgia. But I think defensively, Notre Dame should be strong, even though they lost Al Golden, who ended up winning the Broyles Award for the best assistant coach in college football a year ago. You bring in a veteran D coordinator, Chris Ash, other pieces on that staff still there. But Stormy asked about CJ Carr, and that's the great unknown. He has never thrown a collegiate pass. As a borderline 5-star recruit a couple years ago, obviously the lineage, him being the grandson of Lloyd Carr, and growing up with football in his veins. What Marcus Freeman said the other day regarding CJ Carr was interesting, was his intellect and how he could read defenses. So we'll see. I think mistakes could come. That was the big issue coming out of camp. Remember, really no beat reporters saw any of preseason camps. So what they heard was from sources inside and all of that. But I think CJ Carr, if he can cut down on the turnovers, Notre Dame could come out and should come out victorious. I think my biggest concern here, guys, is ultimately if CJ Carr does what we heard he did during preseason camp, which is turn the football over.
Last 60 seconds, we got to ask you about the marquee Texas-Ohio State. What do you think? And also what that hat is and where'd you get it? Because it looks pretty sweet.
It does.
Rainbow Authentics, baby, proud sponsor of the VSiN College Football Betting Podcast, rainbowauthentics.com. Supporting Hawaii NIL, baby. Get yourself one right now. All right, Texas, Ohio State. I was sitting there last night, guys, and the number ticked down to 1. And I'm like, are we going to end up getting this thing at Ohio State pick? Is this going to flip to Ohio State being a home dog for the first time since November of 2018? I haven't bet it yet, guys, and I know there's a lot of steam on Texas and a lot of questions on Ohio State, right? You've got 2 new coordinators that I've got certainly massive questions on. If this thing goes down to a pick'em, guys, I'm going to end up on Ohio State here. I don't know if it's contrarian to go Ohio State, but look, I'm excited to see what Arch Manning is and will be, but I think this is a pretty challenging task facing some of the best defensive players in the country in Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs in week 1. So if you get Ohio State at a pick, load me up on the Buckeyes.
Tim, I will take it a step further. You're going to get a small plus price on the money line if you want at some point by Saturday.
Ooh, buddy. Crazy.
Awesome spot, Tim. Thanks, pal.
See you guys.
Tim Murray, everybody. And I don't know who had a better week than that guy, by the way. Hawaii, he gets Brent Musburger on the podcast, just crushing it right now. Okay, we're going to step aside, wrapping things up with our best bets next on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're wrapping up up this Wednesday edition of Money Moves live on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, alongside Jonathan Von Tobel, Stormy Buonantony with you. We got best bets coming up in a moment, but first and foremost, remember, ladies and gentlemen, that the Average Joe's contest is coming up fast and furious. If you want to get in right now, the Edge Boost Average Joe contest over at edgeboost.bet. Use our promo code VSIN. Same pick'em format as the Circa Friday Football Invitational with the pros. The top Average Joe gets the top spot in next year's 25 Pro Circa Invitational field. It's free to play. You can register anytime during the season to be eligible for weekly and quarterly prizes. Plus, each week the highest score gets a $500 Edge Boost deposit. And if the weekly winner already has an Edge Boost account, that prize gets boosted to $1,000. Make sure you're eligible. Head over to edgeboost.bet, promo code VSiN, vsin.com/Joe as well. We are back here on Money Moves.
I'm not entirely happy.
Why is that?
I will say that I was searching for evidence because I have accused you of being the hardest get in VSiN history.
Yeah.
It's
pretty rude, actually, the way you come for me.
There is a rule on VSiN Primetime when I was there that you were no longer allowed on the program because you were so hard to get a hold of and try to book. And I stumbled upon a text message between the two of us from 2023 in which I canceled the hit with you. So
hey,
that is a point of evidence against me.
Let's go. Love to see it. Well, it's, and I want to give myself a little grace here because my schedule fluctuates every week. That it's hard to commit to certain things because I don't know when I'm going to have a call that pops up.
As a normal person whose schedule never fluctuates.
Okay, I get it. I
couldn't understand.
But you know what I'm saying, okay? You're good. You've got your like set hits and everything like that. But sometimes just I don't know. Every coach in college football is different. Every player's practice schedule and class schedule is different. And believe it or not, I was told that players do still go to class even though they're being paid hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Can I take over for 2 seconds?
Let's do it.
And add, you did a wonderful soliloquy on the benefits of marriage in sports.
Yes.
And as Respect to the Process checks in, says that you forgot somebody.
Who did I forget?
You. Because apparently you got married and they got your own show here on VSiN. And then you also got bigger games to call during the football season like the Rose Bowl. So how about that?
Wow. Maybe.
Yeah.
Marriage really does work.
Some would argue, though, that it's a downgrade that you got stuck with me after you got married on this show.
I think that it is well known that our show has gotten exponentially better since we've become a team.
See? So you forgot yourself.
I'm very excited. Thank you so much. What was the Twitter handle of that?
At Respect the Process.
Respect the Process.
With only one S.
Love that. Respect the Process. Thank you. I appreciate that, buddy. It is time for our best bets, though. And you do have a college football play, a game we haven't really talked much about yet. What do you like?
Yeah, I figured I'd add this to kind of test the theory of what we've discussed a couple of times now. New Mexico and Michigan under 49.5. I think New Mexico is going to be so bad. Bronco Mendenhall's gone. Devin Dampier's gone. There's so many dudes that were even just, if they were a skosh legitimate as a starter, they up and left and went to Utah State to go join Bronco there. This roster on paper looks awful. I don't know if they're going to have much. And Michigan just does have this tendency to go out, especially in these games, Stormy, and say, we're just lining up in power formation. We're just handing the ball off. We're going to have the clock run down. We're going to hand it off again. We don't need to show anything. Even our brand new shiny toy here in Underwood, we don't need to do anything. Why would we show any of his skill set, anything that we have for him? Why would we show it in this game? I don't think there's a reason to do it. I think they're just going to sit on New Mexico's chest and just bully them. I don't think there's any reason for this game to get to that 50-point mark. There's no reason for them to run up the score. I don't think there's a reality in which New Mexico is adding to this game. It's already dropped under 51, but I still think it's worth doing this. This is really a play against New Mexico in a sense. I wouldn't say no to 34.5, right? Because there's still plenty of those out there. But I just think that this game's going to be under. I don't think Michigan's going to show anything at all.
Okay. Bronco Mendenhall now at Utah State.
Yep.
So
and he took everything outside of Devin Dampier.
What a good job he did, too, last year. And then just moving on. Yeah, and Dampier, obviously, we're so pro-Utah now because of that move. So New Mexico, a completely different team. Bryce Underwood, by the way, even if that is the game plan for his debut as a true freshman quarterback. I am so excited to see what he's ultimately going to be and if he can live up to even half of the hype that is around this kid, because it's crazy. I just basically updated some of my futures in the NFL for our best bets today. I have made it official. It is in the account. I'm on the Steelers over 8.5 wins. I have talked myself into it at this point that they're just going to do it again. And you look at the numbers from Aaron Rodgers the back half of last season after he got healthy from the Achilles. Now you're pairing that with a defense that's really solid. He's got some good skill position talent around him. He appears to have had a really good relationship with DK Metcalf. So I'm on the over 8.5. I know we haven't seen it yet. We didn't get any taste in the preseason, but I think that's probably the right move when you have an aging and previously injured quarterback. And I had it in the pro football futures contest we did here at VSiN, our draft, not contest. Chiefs to win the AFC West. I'm doing it. Just putting it in the account, which, by the way, while on the AFC West, I did just see a note come across Twitter that Jim Harbaugh said Najee Harris is back at practice today and playing week 1 is a possibility. So you do have a little update on the Chargers side of things there. But until they don't, I'm just going to keep riding with the guys that have done it 9 straight times.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Why not?
Why not? Oh, you're learning Why Not Wednesday, finally.
Yeah.
Best bets today presented by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. And remember, GBank is built with sports bettors in mind. Right now, you can earn a $50 cashback reward bonus once you're approved and your account's open with the GBank Visa Signature Card. And while most credit cards treat sportsbook and gaming transactions as cash advances, even when it's your own money, GBank treats them as regular purchases. That means no cash advance fees, saving you up to 3 to 5% on every deposit right there. Plus, you get 1% cash back on all eligible sportsbook and gaming transactions, 2% cash back on everything else you buy. You can apply now at vsin.com/gbank. That's VSIN.com/gbank. Okay.
Before we go to the fun stuff, we should note we do get a little bit of news here. The Milwaukee Brewers, their closer, Trevor McGill, is on the injured list now. So that's a pretty big blow, big picture. As Jeff Passan points out, the Brewers do have a deep bullpen, but low-grade strains like this that he has suffered from, a flexor strain in his right arm, can take time to heal. So we have some questions as to whether or not he will be available for the postseason. Obviously pretty big for the Brewers. And for a team that many have, I think, outwardly questioned the legitimacy of, even though they continue to stay the path. So we'll see how impactful that will be, but worth noting that McGill is going to hit the injured list as we are inching ever so close to the end of the regular season for baseball.
Yeah, big there. Also worth noting, as we are just a little bit away, that Padres-Mariners game that's going to get started soon. Looks like those 8s have been snapped up. We're down to 7.5 pretty across the board for that one that's about to get underway. Last couple minutes here. I don't know if you saw the news, but the Buffs have retired Ralphie.
Okay.
He reportedly is going into retirement due to an indifference to running, which a lot of us can relate.
I was going to say, yeah.
A lot of us can relate.
A human.
But it kind of got me thinking about some of the best traditions in college football, obviously, as we get set for the season to really begin in earnest tomorrow as we start just this cavalcade of awesome games. All of the different like pageantry, traditions, bands, some of my personal favorites. And these are just my favorites. Those of you at home listening, please chime in. Like, I'd love to see some that made your guys' list that didn't make mine, but these are my personal top 5 favorite college football traditions. Enter Sandman. I would kill to see this in person. It looks like it is an absolute blast. The Vol Navy, which I can't believe you didn't know what this was. He looked at my list and he goes, Vol Navy, what is that? It's sailgating. Just outside of the stadium at Tennessee, they've got all of the ships. Everybody's just like throwing them back, having a blast. I've never seen anything like it. That was one of the like cooler things in person that I've seen at a college football game. How can you not be a fan of the Hawkeye wave? The man to my left is heartless, so we don't need to go any further on that. Flight of the Eagle at Auburn. The first time I saw that in person, and you watch just the way the whole crowd moves with the Eagle, unbelievable. And one of the more underrated traditions in college football, I'm going with Oregon's Shout. They do that between the third and the fourth quarter, every home game at Autzen. And I saw when Kayvon Thibodeau was in his final season at Oregon, the dancing on the sideline, having a blast. That stadium gets rocking for that, and it is so fun. Do you have a favorite?
No.
Come on. Nothing. You have nothing. Nothing you like about college football off the field.
I mean, it's just not something I have ever thought of.
You don't like the painting of the cannon with UNLV in Nevada. That can't even do that for you.
What are you talking about? I watched UNLV not win the cannon for like 20 million years. It's not really something. It's only a recent thing that has been read.
So you should be excited about it.
Recency. I've been to a cannon painting. It's fun.
Do you have a bucket list college football stadium that you would like to go to?
Not really. I mean, the ugly orange and white of Tennessee does stick out to me as something I would like to be a part of.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know. I just don't get into the traditions.
You want to go to night game at LSU?
Sure.
You don't want to. I can't. I'm done with you. All right.
How am I supposed to?
White out at Penn State.
Especially nowadays. How am I supposed to buy into the tradition of college football when these are all just free agents getting paid to go everywhere? Who cares?
Debbie Downer.
Let's go. Line up and play football.
Dude,
let's do this.
Get it together. Okay. That's a wrap for us.
Slapping the
we
rock.
had such a strong showing, and this is what you do to me. That's a wrap for us. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Good luck with your bets today. Follow the Money is coming up next. Mitch and Paul holding it down for the next 3 hours. Have a great day.